Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars. I am Benny Scala, the one and only Playa, and with me, as always, is my partner in True Crime. She's a New England Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer. She is the Reverend Mayor's mom, and she is Jen Soto's worst nightmare, and I can only be talking about the very bad co-host, the one and only Boston Bad Girl, Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you this evening?
I am doing average, just average. How are you?
Average. So if you were like a term paper, would you be a C plus?
I would say a straight C.
Straight C? I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's still passing, right?
Still passing, but it's right on the,
Next week you'll be back to A plus. Yeah, I get it. And here again is the resident genius of true crime and the director of security for Dangerous Dave's Carnival, Tiffany Starr. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm okay. I feel average today too, Brittany. I don't know. It might be the weather, I think.
So what are you? Are you a C plus term paper, or are you high or B minus?
I'm with Brittany. I'm like a C. I might be a D. I don't know.
Oh. Well, D is still passing though.
Yes, exactly.
We need all A's next week. But last but certainly not least,
right,
is the one and only and very hungry Dangerous Dave Starr. Dave, any new goings on in the carnival?
Just homemade egg and potato salad. The carnival just got in town a little while ago. We got a great show tonight. A very weird case. I really put it up there with the Karen Reed case that there's really no evidence who did this, although the son is very much involved, and so it should be pretty good. I like to get some opinions from true crime people out there, and as usual, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me.
Amen.
All
right. Yeah, this is the classic whodunit, but before we talk about it, let's pay a little bit of bills here, and then we will get right to our case. Give me 1 second here. There we go. This is Benny Scala, the one and only Playa. Folks, I am beyond excited to be co-hosting this new show, When It Was Real. And I am just as excited to be announcing our new sponsor, the Free Spirited Company. Free Spirited is a phenomenal old-school clothing company that specializes in short and long-sleeve T-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, graphic tees, heck, even yoga pants. These T-shirts are, to quote Rocky's manager Mickey Goldmill, a wake of art. Yours truly will be rocking the Free Spirited merch on each and every episode of When It Was Real. Not only are these shirts eye-catching, but they are very comfortable as well. Like what you see? Please go to shopfreespirited.com and use our special code MP20 to receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Again, that is shopfreespirited.com, and that code is MP20. As the poet laureate of the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel, I will leave you with this. If you like what you see, go buy a tee. Heck, maybe 2 or 3. When your friends tell you, hey, you look like the bomb, send them over to shopfreespirited.com. Well, guys, here we go again with more pieces of shit to talk about. This one's a little bit different, though, like Dave was saying, because unlike most of our cases where there's a clear-cut criminal, everybody in this one is blaming each other. So on November 4th, 2024, Melody Farris, 64, we already have a Kristen Wolf with a free Melody statement in the chat room, was convicted of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing the death of another, jaywalking, littering, and making a false statement in the death of her husband, Gary Farris, who's a prominent Atlanta area attorney. So I made up the jaywalking and littering, but the rest of the shit is true. Melody has been out on bond during her trial.
Wondering.
What's that?
I was wondering what the hell you were talking about.
I was seeing who's paying attention. You passed. So Melody, who's been out on bond during her trial, was immediately taken into custody following the verdict. Melody addressed the court during her December 5th, 2024 sentencing, maintaining her innocence and pointing the bony finger at her son, Scott, who she claimed was a real killer. The judge sentenced Melody to life in prison with the option of being considered for parole after 30 years. The couple, who were married for 38 years, lived on a working farm in Alpharetta, Georgia, that spanned approximately 10 acres. They lived in the main house together while Scott lived in an apartment above the barn while helping his father work the farm. On July 5th, 2018, deputies with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office were called to the property for a report of human remains in a fire, which they refer to as a burn pile. The bad girl and the true crime genius will take you through the facts of this case. Back in the day, the term whodunit was used to describe murder mysteries, and as far as trying to figure out, well, whodunit. We got a lot of that going on with this wacky family. Hit it.
I'll say. Wow, this one is interesting. Oh, we lost him. Okay. Well, the murder trial of Melody Farris came after human remains were found on a burn pile on July 5th, 2018, just 100 yards from their home on Purcell Lane in Cherokee County. The remains of her husband, Gary Farris, were discovered in a wooded area on the 10-acre property that included a pond, a creek, and several pastures. Gary Farris was a prominent attorney with Burr and Foreman. According to the district attorney's office, Melody Farris told detectives that her husband had started the fire on the property days prior. She also mentioned that her husband had medical problems and suggested he could have a medical emergency or an accidental death. Melody reported to her children that Gary was missing, and Scott and the other children scoured the vast premises in search of Gary Farris. Farris's body was eventually located in the burn pile by his son Scott, who called authorities. Although Melody contended the death could be accidental, the district attorney's office said signs of foul play became apparent when law enforcement discovered a bullet lodged in Gary's rib cage and a spent bullet inside the home. They also found blood spots on the home's basement floor and on the steps. During a 2019 hearing, Detective Daniel Hayes testified that investigators found ash and blood on some of Melody's clothes during the investigation. But it was a late-night phone call to her alleged lover that led Melody Farris's arrest. The man she was allegedly having an affair with, Roy Rusty Barton, told investigators he spoke with her the night before her husband's remains were found. And Hayes testified that Barton said she told him, quote unquote, he's on the burn pile.
So for that, I guess during the trial, he actually retracted that statement and said that he misspoke and that it wasn't actually the night before, that it was sometime after they had already discovered him in the burn pile. So,
yep.
I mean, is it true? Was he covering up for her? I mean, I don't think so. He seemed like a pretty straightforward, like nice guy, but you never know.
Yeah,
nice guy
yes
and no.
Woman. Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Yeah.
I think he's a piece of shit, because if you show up to somebody's wedding, you know, where you know that the woman's husband's going to be there, and you flirt and dance with this woman while her own husband is right there, I'm sorry, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well, so in my opinion, as far as that goes, I feel like there has to be more to that story, because if so Gary knew that was, they knew she was having an affair. It wasn't a secret. The whole family knew, including Gary.
Right.
And so if your wife brought her lover to your child's wedding, why was he allowed to stay there? Why was he not kicked out? Why was there not a fight? There was nothing. So it seems like there may have been a little bit more to that story, because that doesn't even seem.
Maybe. Yeah. Right. Who knows?
Seems strange.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, they could be. But you know what I was wondering? They knew she was having an affair, but did they know who she was having the affair with?
I believe they did.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
So too.
I think they knew.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know. As a man, there is absolutely no way I'm doing something like that.
Oh my God, no.
Unless he, was told that it was okay. Like they know about it.
If Gary Wolf himself invited me, then maybe I would go. But otherwise, no way.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole thing, it seems a little weird.
Bizarre. How bizarre.
But I mean, he was also having an affair, so I don't know.
Correct.
Like, they weren't necessarily together.
Yeah, none of these people are saints. I mean, I'm definitely not saying that. None of these people are wacky.
Right.
Yeah, this family is a little crazy. All right, so Gary Farris and Melody Farris were married for 38 years, but investigators said it was a strained relationship for years. The married couple lived on separate floors in their home, and they hadn't slept in the same bedroom for years. Several years prior to the murder, Melody Farris allegedly began her affair. They, her and Rusty Barton, would meet at a hotel in Dalton, spend the day together, and then both drive home, Hayes said. Hayes testified that Melody used multiple burner phones to communicate secretly with her lover. Detective Hayes testified in 2019 that the married couple had fought the night Gary Farris was killed. Hayes said Gary Farris, a successful attorney, controlled the finances. It was also said that Melody Farris complained to investigators that she had to ask her husband for permission to spend any money. So I don't know how true that is, because she did make statements saying that she never had to ask him for money, that she just had it wasn't even just her who had his credit cards. Scott also just had his credit. Everyone just like had access to his money freely, like, which is so crazy to me. Like they didn't have to ask.
Also
like,
just had his credit. Everyone just like had access.
There he is.
I'm echoing. I wonder why.
Yeah, we gotta.
Yeah. All right. So back to this. Melody Farris was the beneficiary of a $2 million life insurance policy on Gary Farris. So that I don't know if that was true at the time of death, because I read that it had actually been changed.
Was the rest of the family added in, Tiffany? Or
I don't know. Yeah, like I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure I read that it had been changed prior to the death. So I'm not 100% positive on that. So, although the murder weapon was never found, several pieces of evidence were crucial. 1, Melody's night before confession to her lover. 2, the blood found in the kitchen, on the steps, and in the basement. 3, an expended bullet matching that found in Gary Farris's ribcage. And 4, evidence of movement of Gary Farris's phone to and from the burn pile after the murder, when Melody was the only person on the family compound. Melody Farris's murder trial began in October of 2024. She was found guilty by a Cherokee County jury on November 4th of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing the death of another, and making a false statement. At sentencing, instead of showing any remorse, she chose to profess her innocence and blamed the murder on her son, Scott. The judge was a honey badger and sentenced her to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 30 years. She will be 94 when she is eligible. It should be noted that Christopher, Scott, and Emily Farris testified for the prosecution, while the youngest daughter, Amanda Bruce, testified for the defense. So Amanda is the only one that, I guess, thinks her mom is innocent.
Yeah, we have Kristen in the chat room. Obviously, thinks that Melody did not do it.
Yeah, so that's my mom's boyfriend. Mom's boyfriend. My boyfriend's mom.
Or either way.
I'm at a D. I'm at a D tonight. Like, I am not.
Yeah, that slipped you a half a notch. It definitely. You took 5 points off.
I don't know if I'm the genius anymore, Bunny. I don't know about that.
Nah, genius having a bad night.
It's late.
Yeah, but obviously we've discussed the case, and she doesn't think that Melody did it at all. But I agree with her. Like, just the stuff that was brought up, and like the fact that like the defense was able to prove that there was reasonable doubt as far as who did it. Like they offered an alternative suspect. They offered alternative, ways that this could have happened. So I just feel like they did their job. And I don't feel like based on that, like just based on the law and justice, like if that was the case and the jury went with that, I don't feel like she should have been prosecuted at all and put in jail.
Yeah. Maria Davis thinks that Melody did it. I would tend to agree. Brady, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely did think she did it after the 2 documentaries that I watched. And I did watch 2 different ones. I think one was 2020 and the other was 48 Hours that Tiffany told us about. I watched them, but when Tiffany made that comment this morning in our chat about the trail cam footage,
Okay.
a couple of hours later, I went and Googled that and watched it. And that kind of made me go,
Well,
And
what was in that video? The trail
Scott.
cam.
It was just him deleting. So there was a trail cam on the property, and it was him going up to the trail cam and clearing the SD card from it. And his reasoning for that was it was out of habit, and he went through it and didn't find anything that would help anyone, like didn't see his dad or anything. Yeah. So that's why he deleted it. But
that's kind of shady.
Yeah, because it's
that's
like you don't know what would have helped somebody. So
we have to have a vote. Do we let Dave back in? Yes or no?
I say we let him in and only keep him in if his
we'll give him we'll put him on trial here.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 strikes and he's out.
Hello.
There we go.
Fine.
He's back.
All right, we're all right now. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Tiffany, and I agree that I think the defense did, create some reasonable doubt. Here's my thing though, like I think they should have developed that further. And now this is just me. If I'm on trial for a murder that I didn't do, you bet your ass I'm on the stand. I don't care what my lawyers say. Every other word out of my mouth was, I fucking didn't do this. I'd be screaming and I wouldn't be calm about it. Like that woman is I wouldn't want to play poker with her, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Way too calm for somebody that, not whether she did it or not, way too calm for somebody who's on trial for murder. And if she didn't do it, I mean, why aren't you screaming at the top of your lungs and trying to defend yourself? I kind of think that, we were talking about it before the show. I think they both had a hand in it. I'm kind of revising I think she
me too.
Initially said, that let's do this. Well, because they probably both couldn't stand the guy, and we'll have enough money for the both of us. Because here's my biggest concern. Even though when I thought she did it, my biggest question mark, where'd he go? Jeez, we let him back in. I don't know.
No.
But maybe he's got carnival business to attend to. Maybe he's like double dipping. What do you think?
That could be.
Yeah,
I think so.
But I mean, how did that body get taken out of that basement and into that burn pile? I'm having a hard time with that. Of the whole thing, how did he get? I mean, the guy was what, 6'4", 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
She's a buck and a quarter.
Yeah, and the only person on that property who would have had the means to get him to that burn pile would have been Scott, because he was almost the same size as Dad, pretty much. Like, he's a pretty big dude. So
yeah. But you know what? I had said earlier in our group chat this morning? I said that the boyfriend, and then somebody, I think Dave, came back with the boyfriend wasn't even in town. But wasn't she having an affair with 2 people?
No, it was just the one.
See,
it was just
the stuff I looked up this morning. They said she was having an affair with 2 different people.
I never saw that. The only thing I saw was that she was having the affair with
carrying on with the Rusty guy. Was that still a thing, or was had that ended?
No, that was still a thing.
That was still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't read anything about that. And in the trial, they only mentioned Rusty. He's the only one that they brought on the stand. They didn't mention, there was no mention of anybody else. And she seemed like she was pretty much wrapped up in him most of the time because based on her cell phone records, they had said that they were in constant communication, and I didn't hear anything else. So I don't know about that.
I know. It makes you wonder because you see things and half the time they're true and half the time they're not. Yeah. So like, what do you believe? But I don't know. I mean, the fact that I would agree that one of the boyfriends were involved if there were two, right? But if one was out of town, so okay, maybe it was the other one. But if she really did have another boyfriend, why wasn't he on the stand? Why didn't we hear about him during the trial? And this Scott thing with him going up to the trail cam and then that is not a good look.
That's not even the only thing that Scott did too that was really suspicious and strange. So he also so for one, he was very quick to blame his mother. Like within 10 to 13 minutes of the cops arriving, he had already started blaming her. But also on top of that, he started talking about this gun that was missing. And without nobody knew that Gary had even been shot. So
Chris is saying the same thing in the chat.
Yeah. So I guess there was the gun in his drawer next to his bed is what Scott had said. And he saw it there. I don't know when he saw it there prior to the murder. And then for whatever reason, he went into the house after they found the body in the burn pile and prior to the police coming there and looked for this gun, just decided to look for this gun and then found that it wasn't there. So then decided to start bringing that up to police almost immediately that, there's a gun missing. But the defense did bring up that. So on July 4th, he did go to a lake with his friends. And they're saying that he possibly could have dumped that gun at the lake when they went there. And then also back when he was in the military, because he was in the Army, he had said that his grandfather had a .357 revolver, I believe. And he said that it was stolen at some point when he was in the military. And he said that he reported it stolen. And then come to find out the defense dug a little deeper and tried to find the reports on it. And there was actually no report of it ever being reported by Scott stolen.
Wow.
There's just like a lot of inconsistencies and like holes in his story, just with stuff that he said. And it's like really suspicious.
Yeah, that sounds it.
I do agree that his tears were a work.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't buy that at all. I thought that was very insincere. And that's a bad sign. You know, if you got a fake tears, then what are you hiding? But I guess I just keep coming back to why didn't Melody go on the stand? If again, I'm on trial for murder. I didn't do it. You bet your ass I'm on the stand. I don't care what my lawyers say. You know, why didn't they? I mean, I don't know. I just for me, that's hard to overcome.
I feel like in a lot of cases, like when people are on trial for murder, I feel like more often than not, they don't.
Well, that's because they did it.
But I think it's because either, I don't know. I think that the lawyers just think that it's more damning than helpful because the prosecution would really like kind of go in and like dig into them a little bit. So that's probably why lawyers say it's a bad idea.
That's a good point because then once you take the stand, then you're open for cross-examination.
You're open for anything. You're open for any type of speculation.
If they don't think that you're going to hold up under cross, that to that extent, it's going to damage your case. I do get that. It just, I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking that this lady was innocent. I mean, she had the motive. You know, there's a lot of money on the table. I mean, and now as far as Gary goes, I'm not sure what the financial arrangement. The dad was giving him money, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dad was going to cut Scott off. Was the whole thing that was going on. There's text messages between them, like between Scott and his mom, between Gary and Scott, pretty much just saying like he was supposed to be helping on the farm and he wasn't. He was just like golfing all the time, hanging out with his friends, sleeping all the time. He wasn't
He's
holding
a lazy POS, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
now,
I guess his dad was like,
if you kill the golden goose, then where are you? I mean, that
yeah. I'm pretty sure the kids were like supposed to get something out of it. I mean, I don't think that he would have kept his children out of the will or whatever.
By all accounts, he was very generous. Wasn't that a point of contention between the Melody and Gary? Was that she thought he was way too generous with the kids.
Yeah, she did. I think there were also text messages where they were talking about that as well. But yeah, he was. My thing, I think, is that Scott wanted the property for himself, and if his mother was put in jail for murder, obviously she's no longer a player in this. So I think that he just wanted the money for himself, wanted the property for himself. I mean, he has a couple of motives himself for this murder, which is why the whole reason
he does. I mean, it wasn't just the $2 million. I mean, Gary Farris rather had substantial assets. I mean, that farm was worth a ton of money.
Yeah, it was. I think
that they said what other investments he had.
It's like 2.2 million is what that farm is worth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily. And who knows what else he made, stocks, things like that. But I was saying when I said Gary Wolf, I'm looking at Kristen Wolf's comment. It's very rare to have defendants take the stand. Yes, that's true, but I think there's a reason for that. Is because the overwhelming majority of defendants in a murder case actually did do it, and you don't want to have them on the stand, right? But so that's why I believe. I think. I mean, it's very rare that they don't get it right. That you have the wrong party being accused of a murder. Now, maybe this is one of them, but I think that's why in the majority of cases, they think, meaning the defense thinks that their client is going to hurt the case, and that's why they keep them away.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's saying Scott is a leech that sucked off his father his whole life. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. He did not. He was not very. He didn't present himself very well, at least in my opinion. He came off as a very lazy, entitled person.
He also failed his lie detector test.
See, that's another red flag. If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, he failed his lie detector test, but unfortunately in court, it's admissible, so it doesn't really stand up. But yeah, he failed, and there's obviously a reason he failed his lie detector.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
So do you guys think that maybe they were in it together though, and she took the rap and said, I'm not going to say anything about you. I will never implicate you. Hopefully I'll get off the hook. But if I don't, it is what it is.
No, I don't think so, because the only reason why I don't think so is because she wouldn't have made that statement at her sentencing if she was still trying to take the blame.
That's true. That's true.
Well, I don't know about that though, because I kind of tend to agree that maybe they planned that out. What was Scott like 6'8", 350 pounds, whatever he was, big giant guy, right? Bigger than his father. Big. Somebody had to get that body out of the basement. I really think that maybe, and there's a possibility that they were in cahoots. She said, I'll take the rap. We'll stage it that way. And then he kind of played it out. He immediately pointed the finger at the mother, and it went down that way. And maybe, she thought, well, if I can point the finger back at him, then maybe, I'll get a lighter sentence or whatever. It just kind of backfired. But I do think that's a very, very, very strong possibility.
Yeah, because I'm 6'1", I'm a big girl. I could not move a 300-pound, 6-foot something guy
No.
myself.
And I mean, and literally dead weight, right? I mean,
Yes.
the ultimate dead weight.
But the
There's
thing
no
too,
way he could.
the thing too is like there's no he was shot. Where was he shot? There is literally, if you're shot, there's more than little drops of blood on the floor.
Right.
So that was a little suspicious too. Like there's no way that there wasn't blood. Like there was nothing
blood
there.
in the kitchen, and then it was leading down to the basement steps, and
It
down
was
in
just
the
like
basement.
little spots. Yeah, it was little
Right.
drips. But apparently he had been bitten by a dog, I want to say, prior to this. And so they're
Right.
saying that that's where those little blood spots could have come from, because there would have been so much more blood if he was shot in that.
But they
like
did
it
find
doesn't
they found
add
the
up.
expended bullet down in the basement, though, right? They found that, and it matched, the same.
They're
It
saying
matched the bullet that was found on his ribcage.
yeah, they're saying that they think that Scott planted that down there because he was down there before the cops even arrived. He was down there because he was checking to find the gun that nobody was even thinking about except for him.
Right.
Right.
So
Right. Now,
yeah,
did you guys see the woman on the stand that I believe she was Melody's aunt? The nice little white-haired lady that was 84 years old?
no,
I did not see her. No.
Well, I listened to everything she had to say, and she said that her 357 Magnum that her husband gave her husband's now passed away. He gave it to her as a Christmas gift one year, and he filled each little hole where you put a bullet with very tightly rolled up $100 bills and gave that to her as a gift. So obviously she took the $100 bills out, and she was very pleased with her gift. And she said, I don't want the gun. And he's like, well, you got to be safe. The only person that knew was a friend of hers and Melody. They were the only two people that knew she had this gun. And I'm like, and the gun is missing. She called the police and told the police that the gun is missing. And she said she hated to do it because she was very close to Melody, and she has been her whole life. And it was hurting her heart, she said.
there seems to be a lot of missing guns in this investigation. So there's her missing gun.
Absolutely.
There's now Gary's missing gun, and there's Scott's missing gun. There's a lot of missing guns going on in this family. It seems so weird.
Yeah, and for an 84-year-old woman, though, to have to go through all of this, and I don't know how many times they said, stop, barraging her with questions. She's 84 years old. Please slow down and ask one question at a time. This little lady was the cutest little lady that I've ever seen, and I felt so bad for her being in this situation.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Do you think that they were trying to include Rusty? Although he was a prosecution witness, so I guess. Yeah, I just they questioned Rusty at length for a couple of hours, and I mean the way he was talking, though, I'm thinking like, well, it more convinced me that he might have been involved. I mean, he seemed like a stand-up guy, but now you're talking about somebody who's obviously, he said he was in love with Melody. He's been selling farm equipment for years, and I'm thinking like somebody like you would need some heavy-duty farm equipment if Gary died in the basement to get him out and get him on that burn pile. And in my mind, I'm thinking like maybe this guy was involved.
So they tested. There were two vehicles. I don't know what they were. They had like the scoops or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. There were 2 vehicles on the property that were actually tested for that because that was a theory that they had, and it came back that there was no blood on them.
Well, that makes sense. But like, what about this guy had his own farm equipment and then he got it the hell out of there after they, you know what I mean? But didn't Dave send a text saying they already proved that the guy was far away when this happened?
That was already.
Yeah,
that
he
was
in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Yeah, he was not physically there. He was.
Yeah, so I don't think
he was the one that turned her in too, wasn't he?
No.
Or no?
No, it was Scott from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. He just did he report the phone call though, or was he?
I don't think he necessarily reported it. I think that maybe when they were interrogating him, he may have just brought it up.
Well, then, I mean, isn't he in trouble either way? If somebody calls you and says, my husband's on the burn pile, and you don't report that, aren't you kind of?
No, because he said that she made that statement, and he asked her. He said, "What did you say?" And she apparently made that statement again, and he said, "I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to know anymore. Don't say anything," because he didn't want to be part of it. That was what he said.
But the fact of the matter is, then he heard it. So if you heard it, why isn't he in trouble for not reporting? I don't know.
He didn't hear. He didn't hear anything really. Like he didn't hear. She didn't say I killed him. She didn't say how she did it. She didn't really say much of anything. So that's why he said don't say anything, because at that point he doesn't have to report anything because he really doesn't know anything.
Right.
Like that could have meant.
See what Benny's saying though. Like if somebody called me up and said my husband's on the burn pile. What do you mean? Like
he could, but he could have interpreted that in any way he wanted to. Like,
true.
Unfortunately, that's just like I think that's just like how the law is. Like, I don't know. She didn't say anything. Right. I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, you take it all in context, though. I mean, these people are having a torrid love affair, long distance, and all of a sudden, hey, my husband's dead. It'd be like, you're not going to be, well, what happened? Like, you're not going to have this. Don't you want to know?
See, because she didn't really say that, though. She didn't say Gary's dead. So I think that's where he gets off a little bit, because the words I killed Gary or Gary is dead never
right.
No,
she didn't say she killed him, but, right. I mean, I think it's kind of implied my husband's on the burn pile. I mean, he's not, doing Anthony Robbins, because Tony Robbins, you walk on coals, but you don't lay on coals.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just the wording of it that he could be like, I didn't know anything. She didn't tell me she killed him. Because of the fact that she didn't say, because I killed him, or because Scott killed him, or because Scott and I killed him. She just said where he was. Yeah. Did not imply that there was a murder. But
I don't know. I mean, I still think that, if you're a conscientious human being and you get that phone call, the next call is to the police, and let them know this is the information that I was given, and let them do what they want with it. Maybe they don't even question you, but when you have to be called.
Allegedly, that call didn't even happen until after he was already found.
Right.
So I'm
who
I'm
knows?
Not sure.
I mean, it's all
kind of makes you wonder, though. There's so many weird things.
There is, like Scott. I guess Scott was like, I guess like a dirty person, and there was like dog feces like all in his apartment. Like it was a disaster. It was disgusting. It was dirty. It smelled, but his bathroom was spotless. It was bleached. It was the cleanest room, but everything else was extremely dirty. So I think that is also really weird and suspicious too.
That is, yeah. Well, I mean, the only other thing is it possible that he died? He was shot elsewhere. Was he shot close to the burn pile?
I don't think he was shot in the house.
Yeah, because that would, like you said, all right, let's think about it. There was not like, I mean, if somebody's shot, like you're bleeding out, there's like not just a little bit of blood. There's a lot of blood normally, right?
Right.
And unless his cholesterol was so high, it came out like toothpaste. But right, but if you know, if you said, you know, let's assume that Scott did plant that shell casing down in the basement, then he easily could have been, you know, he could have been shot anywhere. And if he got shot close to the burn pile, then that would all of a sudden now it's not that big of a deal if he's close.
You know what I think? I think he was there poking the burn pile. The father was poking it to try to, you know, keep it going. And someone snuck up on him and killed him as he was like leaning over it.
Right.
And they hoped that not only did they burn him, but they burned all the clues away, meaning blood and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's possible.
The only thing they couldn't burn was the bullet.
Right.
And the bullet.
That makes sense.
Was the bullet, could they prove where the entry was? You know, it was lodged in the rib cage, but was from the front or the back. Could they tell that?
I don't think they ever said.
No, I don't think they did. But from what I understood was that it entered through his side, I think.
Well, I mean, you could still get a jump on somebody if, you know, if he's leaning over toward, you know, looking at this burn pile. You could, you can nail him from the back or the side. But I you know, honestly, I think that's the most plausible explanation. Like, that's a good point, Brittany, that maybe he was, you know, messing around, just, you know, trying to, because he supposedly did start the burn a couple of days before that. So maybe he's just checking up on it and seeing how it's doing. I mean, he was very hands-on around the farm, by all accounts. Mm-hmm. Even though Scott said that, I didn't believe him at all. When Scott said that the father told him, save me some of the work, I'm thinking, like, you line sack of shit. Nobody believes that for 1 second.
No.
You don't become a multi-millionaire by being lazy.
No.
Right.
So, I mean,
property. It was his barn. I mean, his farm. So obviously, like, they allowed Scott to go there. So somebody had to have taken care of it long before Scott came around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of with Brittany. I really think that, you know, I think they were in cahoots, and, you know, there's plenty of money to go around. I can live with my, you know, my lover, and you can have the farm, because, you know, he had a nice place in Tennessee. It still does. You know, now you got money. You got your lover. You know, if Scott has the farm, I mean, everybody lives happily ever after. The husband's out of the picture. And he was, by all accounts, a very, even the one that testified for the defense, was she the youngest daughter, I think, said that he was a very type A personality, very dominant. You know, he demanded respect, which, you know, I mean, maybe maybe Melody and Scott thought, okay, we don't have to worry about this guy. He's no longer controlling the purse strings. We got all the money. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't think either one of them by themselves could have done it.
See, I think Scott would have done it by himself. And they never did forensics in Scott's apartment. Like, they never checked for any traces of blood or anything in his apartment, which makes no sense because it's on the property. It should have been checked for things like that. They went through his apartment. They went through the apartment and they found one of his dad's credit cards, which I guess was strange because he was told to give it back, or they didn't really know why he had it or how he had it. So they went through it and like found stuff, but they never did like actual like testing for blood or anything like that in his apartment.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. And they didn't think, why is this bathroom so different than the whole rest of the apartment?
Right. Like, that's so weird. I think that the problem was that Scott got to them right away. And unfortunately, when there's a narrative being given to detectives. I think that they sometimes run with that and think that they're going in the right direction and this is what it is and they get like tunnel vision instead of actually investigating every piece of evidence and not taking somebody's word for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much easier from their point of view if you focus in on one person and concentrate on them. You don't have to worry about anybody else. But I do think, I mean, now that we're chatting, I mean, I really do think that they should have done a lot more investigation before they brought this thing to trial.
I agree.
Because I mean, he does have motive. You know, he did. I'm sure he envisioned himself. How old is he, Scott? Like mid-30s?
I can't remember.
I don't think he's 37, maybe.
Yeah, I would say probably around that when the trial happened.
Now, and what is his deal? Like, was he married? Did he have any kids? Scott was just single, living with mom and dad.
Married. He was married at one point when he was in the army, and then he got divorced, but he didn't have any kids.
And I think he remarried.
No,
if I remember.
Well, he might be now, but
okay.
During all of this, he wasn't. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to find his age. I don't see anything.
I would have said like mid-30s when it happened, though.
It's hard though because he looks older. Like he looks like he has like no hair and stuff. But
yeah,
I mean,
Kristen is saying I think he's in his late 30s. I'm going to say 37 if I had to guess a date, but
yeah, that would be about right because the mother was 74?
64.
64?
Mm-hmm. Melody was 64.
Oh. Well, that's right. Why am I saying 74?
No, she's 64. She'll be in 30 years. She'll be, when she's 94, she'll be eligible for
right. 94. That's right. That's right.
To get out, but
she's 64. Oh, that's a tough looking 64.
Yeah,
what's that expression? Rode hard and hung dry, or whatever it is. Like I never get that right. But what's that? Whatever that expression is, that is her.
Well, let me tell you, when I saw a picture of her when she was younger, and it wasn't that long before this all happened. And then when I saw her in court, I went, "That is no way the same woman. No way." And I was shocked. Absolutely shocked, especially around the mouth area. I was like, what is going on here? What happened to this woman's face?
Yeah, she didn't age very well.
Wow.
Well, with all that money, you'd think she would have gotten a little bit of plastic surgery there.
Right?
Don't you think?
Wow. I mean, maybe she figured, well, where I'm going, I might as well not waste the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked when I saw her picture. I mean, 64. I mean, I'm 5 years older than she is, and to me, she looks like she could be my mother.
I know. That's why I was thinking 74, but no, I remember they did say you won't be eligible for parole until you're 94.
Right.
And I think that was before he slapped 5 years on.
I'm sure it gets appealed. Do you think anything happens on appeal?
Possibly.
Sorry,
if they did some digging into Scott, it's very possible.
I mean, now if Scott did it, or he was an accomplice, I don't know. I wonder how he's feeling. Is he like a huge sigh of relief, or is he still, If it's me, I'm thinking it's just a matter of time before they come and get me, because if they appeal it, although if they appeal it, though, the only way it can be overturned is if there's some kind of procedural error. You can't overturn it just because you don't like the verdict. If everything was followed procedurally correctly, it stands. I mean, otherwise, I mean, the prosecution could have appealed Casey Anthony, but you just sometimes you get a bad verdict. You go like OJ, like Casey.
Yeah.
Like maybe this one, maybe who knows.
This is interesting.
He is either engaged or currently married, Brittany.
Okay.
It happened. When did he?
7 years ago it happened. It's what, 2018?
No,
Or
the engagement.
Okay.
I don't even know if they're married yet. But yeah, there is somebody. But he was married prior. When he was in
I remember him talking about her on the stand. Wow.
I don't know. The other thing is, all the other kids, and I don't know what they do. So there was one, that Christopher, I guess, was the oldest one, right? And there were two daughters. They all moved on, and seemed to have all very successful. And you got, there's always the one kid who, mooches off the parents. And then obviously, Scott was the one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty sad, though. The whole thing is pretty sad.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's sad what money does to people.
I know.
The advantage of not having any money is you don't think of things like that.
I know.
But yeah,
I know.
It's just so sad that and he seemed like a good guy. I mean, people liked him, respected him. There were no incidents that I heard of, unless I missed something, where the police ever called to the house for domestic violence or domestic disturbance.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, so
we're out busy having affairs. How could they be home and call the police on each other?
I really think it just became at some point, I don't know how, 20 years ago, whatever, it became a marriage of convenience. Hey, we're not really getting along that way anymore, but we got 4 kids, we got this multi-million-dollar farm, there's plenty of room, we can stay out of each other's way, we can lead our own lives. How will that work? Yes. And then you just do that. I mean, although that is kind of bizarre, I just think, I don't know. I still have a problem with the boyfriend showing up at the wedding, and I can't imagine somebody like a man. I know that, like, if it was me and my ex-wife said, like, "Are you out of your effing mind? No way!" Like, he can go get a hotel room. You can go sleep with him after the wedding, whatever. He's not going to be here. No way. I don't see that. I don't see him approving of that at all. I don't see most men being able to tolerate that.
Nope, I agree.
Yeah,
I don't know what the arrangement is. I mean, put it this way. I mean, they were still. It seems like they weren't. Other than that, it didn't seem like they. I mean, they were, because according to Rusty, I don't think Gary even knew his name. Correct? I thought that was part of his testimony.
I'm not sure.
I wondered that too. And another thing I wondered is, why was she using burner phones if it was so well known that she was having an affair?
Correct. Yeah, that was another odd thing.
So I never heard of the burner phones, because they have her phone records, and on her phone records, it shows all of the information from her and Rusty, like all their communication. So I don't know where the burner phones. I didn't hear she had burner phones. I don't know why she would have them if she was still communicating on her regular phone.
Yeah, that's so weird. It does, like, something's missing in that story.
Yeah.
Like, what is the need for burner phones if you guys are using your regular phones?
Yeah, you're still using
it all day long.
Yeah.
I wonder if the burner phones maybe were with the possible imaginary second boyfriend. She didn't want 2 men to know about it.
Yeah, this whole case is just.
Oh, man.
Dave's getting all kinds of free IT advice there in the chat.
I know. I just saw that.
Is he?
I think either Archie or I think Cash. You got the ministry covered with Archie. Maybe Cash should be the IT person.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. He's He's out cold over here. I don't know who he's helping. I don't think he even knows what day it is.
Or maybe he can become a Reiki master and send Reiki over to Dave to have it fixed.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that probably cost you a couple of bucks, right? But it might be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm charging Dave. I'm charging him. If my dog's going over there to help him with anything, I'm charging.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Archie can be hired out. I mean, he can do weddings, he can do bar mitzvahs, graduations, maybe circumcisions. Can he preside over those?
I think the carnival might be there for that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, Dave's that would be, the slogan would be, it won't be long now.
I think that he maybe he can reset it to like factory settings.
What's his name did? Like Stephon Stearns. Maybe he can call Stephon Stearns and ask him how he can do that.
That's true.
Yeah, hey Stephon, how do you accidentally factory reset your phone?
Yeah, please give us the information.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night because it's almost time. I
Right.
want to watch Monday Night Raw tonight because
I do too.
In light of what
Money
happened,
in the Bank was good.
I really, I think it'll be pretty interesting. So thanks as always to everyone in the live chat, as well as anyone who follows our show. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe to the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel so you won't miss any exciting episodes. Please do not forget to join yours truly and Dan Sebastiano tomorrow night at 7 for Dan and Benny in the Ring, and then on Wednesday night at 7 for When It Was Real with the great Nikita Brezhnikov. And do not forget to check out The Bad Girl every Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Funland Radio. She's spinning the oldies as only she can. And you can also find yours truly on Want Radio Station. And now I'm the #1 show on Want Radio. Yay me. Every Sunday afternoon at 3 for Benny the Jet and the Jet Set. I've included links for both in the description. So for the bad girl, Brittany Brown, the genius, Tiffany Starr, you are the genius. Just had a,
I don't
even
know
genius
anymore.
have a little bit of an off night. And Dangerous Dave, the carnival man, wherever he is. This is the one and only Playa telling everyone to stay safe. And we will see you next crime. Good night.
And bye, Mrs. P.
Good night.
I know she's on because
Yeah,
she
bye, Mrs.
texted
P.
me.